This is the mid-module 2 test review. So on the first section right here, it says to fill in the chart. So they gave me the expression, and now I need to write the numerical expression. So it says 40 times, and then it says the sum of 54 and 26. In order to know to do the sum first, I have to put that in parentheses because in order of operations, I use parentheses. So the sum of 54 and 26, sum means addition, so I know that I need to add. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to simplify the expression. Remember, there is no equal sign, so I'm going to rewrite the expression. And now I'm going to simplify it. In order of operations, we have what we know as B Pemdas, and we have our brackets, parentheses, exponents, multiplying and dividing, then adding and subtracting. In this case, we see we have parentheses, so we need to do that first. And when we do that first, we end up right here with 80, and we have to rewrite everything else. And now we use our zero trick, so we ignore our zeros, and we multiply 4 times 8, which is 32, and we put our 2 zeros back in. And we get 3,200. The next one, it says to divide the difference. So we're going to be dividing something. So we'll put our division symbol on. The difference between 1,400 and 800. So we're going to take that first. Where difference tells me to subtract. So we have 1,400 minus 800. And then we're going to divide that by 10. We can't put the 10 first. There is no commutative property here. So first we have to find the difference, and then we're going to divide it by 10. And we're going to move over to the side here and use our order of operations to solve this, or I should say simplify this. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to do what's in parentheses, which gives us 600. And we're dividing that by 10. And when we divide by 10, we know we're really jumping our decimal that's right here, one spot, because there's 1 0, to the left, and it ends up there. So my answer is 60. This time, they give us the numerical expression, and we have to figure out what to write over here. So we know we see we're doing 100 times. So we're going to write 100 times. We see this is right here. This is the sum of 360 and 37. So we come over here, we're going to rewrite it so that we can simplify it. First thing we do is what's in parentheses, and we see that that is 397. We have 100 times. When we multiply, we jump the 0 2 spots to the right, or we ignore the zeros and multiply, and then we put the zeros back in. Next, once again, we're going to write a numerical expression. So we have 13 times. Once again, we're talking the sum. We have to put it in parentheses so that we can find it. The sum needs to add. So we're going to rewrite it over here so that we can simplify it. First, we do what's in parentheses. We use our zero trick. We're going to ignore that and do 13 times 4, which is 52, and put our 0 back in. Here, we're finding the sum of something, so we're going to put that addition symbol in there. 5 14s. That tells me multiplication. So we're doing 5 14s. And then we're doing 12 14s on the other side. So now we're going to solve this over here. We're going to simplify it because there is no equal sign. So first we're going to do 5 times 14. Now 12 times 14, we might need to do a little work on the side, which is okay. Always do whatever work you need. Just move it over onto the side, and we end up with 168. And now we're going to add these two together, and we end up with 238. Let's double check that. We have an 8, 16, 7 and 6 is 13. We carry the 1 and we end up with 238. This one right here, we have to first write it in words. So we see that we're multiplying something by 16. So we can say 16 times. This tells me we're finding the sum. And we're just finding the sum of 330 and 270. And now we're going to rewrite it over here so that we can simplify it. And when we go to do this, we have to do what's in parentheses first. If you need to rewrite it vertically to help you, you should do that. We're going to use our 0 trick and do 6 times 16, which gives me 96, and put our 2 zeros back in. And that's the chart for the review on expressions. Next, we have expressions, and we have to figure out which one is bigger, which one is greater than, is less than, or is equal to. So we're going to start here, and we're going to say 25 times 36 is really what this is asking right here. And this is 100 times 4, and this would be 400. Now I know over here that there are 4 25s in 100, so there's 8 25s in 200, and there's 12 25s in 300, and there's 16 25s in 400. Well, here's 400, and I need 16 25s, but I have 36 of them, so this is greater. If that's too difficult for you to do, you can just simplify both expressions and see which works. So now we're going to look over here. We have 68 times 14, and then we have 70 14 minus 3 14s. Well, 70 minus 3, we have 67 14s. What that really means is 67 times 14. So this is 68 times 14, this is 67 times 14, so this is greater. We have some more expressions here. We're going to look at this one. We have 14 times 32. This time we have 16 32s and they're doubled. Well, right away we have 16 32s. Forget this part right now. 16 32s is already bigger than 14 32s, so this one must be greater. Now we're over here and we have 24 times 5 is what that is. And over here, if we subtract, we have 40 times 6. Well, the first factor is bigger than that first factor. The second factor is bigger than the second factor. So since both factors on this side are greater and they're both multiplying, we know that this one needs to be greater. Once again, if you're not sure, you can always check by simplifying the expression. Next, we're going to use our standard algorithm, which is the way that we all know how to multiply without using all partials. So we set it up, and we've always said we can ignore the zeros. So 4 times 5 is 20, and 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14, and we have to remember to put that 0 back in, and we end up with 1,400. We must show that work because it says to show your work below each problem. So now we're going to do 3 and 5/10 times 40, and we're going to ignore our 0, and we're going to do what we just did over on the side, which was this, put our 0 back in. But the difference here is there's a decimal. We made one jump into that decimal, so we make one jump into this, and we end up with this as a number. We could leave it like that as 140, or we can put that 0 there at the end. We now have 625 times 44. We have 20, and then we have 8, and we add 2 in, so we have 10, and then we have 24 plus 1 is 25. We cross off our numbers. We start our next place, which is at the tens place, so we need a 0 placeholder to start. Then we do 4 times 5, which is 20, carry the 2. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10, carry the 1. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 1 is 25. And now we add all of this together, and we end up with 27,500. Now over here on the side, we now have 3 digits, so we're going to do all our work. Now we're done with that number, so we're starting in the second row. When we go to the second row of numbers, we're in the tens place. We need a 0 as a placeholder. And now we're all done. So we're moving on to our third number, which is in the hundreds place. So we need 2 places over in the hundreds. Remember, if you need grid paper or if you need a post-it, you can ask for it and use it at any time. Now we end up with our answer of 339,012. Next, we have a word problem. It tells us for a field trip, the school bought 58 sandwiches and they were $5.70 each, and 41 bags of chips for $1.35 each. How much did they spend in all? Well, first we have to figure out the money for the sandwiches. So there's $5.70 each, and there's 58 of them. I always put the number with the larger amount of digits on top to make it easier to multiply. We finished with the 8. We go into the 5. We have to put a 0 to start in our tens place. I'm going to add that up. We had jumped 2 spots, so we have to jump 2 spots. So that's for my sandwiches. Now we're going to do our bags of chips. We're done with this. We're going to the second row in the tens place. So we need a 0. And we're going to put in our decimal is going to jump 2 spots. And now we have all this money that we need to add together. And when we're adding decimals, we remember from our first module that we line up the decimal, which lines up our place value. And the question said, how much did the school spend? It's a word problem. We write a sentence. And we have our answer. Now we're talking about Jean. Jean makes hair bows to sell at the craft fair. Each bow requires 2 4/10 feet of ribbon for each bow. She wants to make 93 of them though, and they want to know how many feet of ribbon she needs to buy. So we're going to do our multiplying. And we're starting in our new row. We need a 0. One jump, one jump. Here where it gets a little tricky, we got to make sure that we write our sentence with the decimal in the right spot. So we're going to say she buys 223 2/10 feet. Make sure you label that unit of ribbon. And then we're talking about Mrs. Chen buying boxes of pencils for the 5th grade. She buys 250 boxes of pencils. The boxes cost 60 cents each. What's the cost? And it says, don't forget it's money. So she has 255 boxes. And when you write 60 cents, there's a decimal here, and that's the important part of this one, is that there's a decimal for cents over there. Cents means there should be 2 digits to the right. So we're going to ignore that 0. We're going to solve everything else. And now we're going to put that 0 back in. And we had 2 jumps, so we need to make sure we take our 2 jumps. That decimal spot is very important. So Mrs. Chen paid $153 for the pencils. case some of you are having a tough time reading that, that is $153. So then it says the pencil company is making 10,000 times as many pencils as Mrs. Chen bought. Write an expression to show how many pencils the company will make. Do not calculate. So Mrs. Chen, let's go back here. She bought 255. So she bought 255, and the pencil company is making 10,000 times that. There's my expression. It says not to solve, not to calculate, so I'm not going to do it. But then down here, it says write it using exponents. So we're going to take that 255 again, and it's 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4th power. And that's the